This is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I'm the fellow who has a hyphen in my name. The hyphen is silent, but I am anything but that. Respectonomics brings you a life discussion on the concept, not even a concept, the reality of rejection. This is done through the Living Asset series. This is the series that deals with the living asset as a human being and is brought to you by Respectonomics. Sarah Benton, who is my co-host, is unable to be with us today on account of, I don't usually tell you the weather descriptions, but here it is after a wonderful winter storm. So you're hearing from Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley, your Voice of Respectonomics solo. And before I get into the discussion on rejection, let me also recommend that we all tune in to the Living Youth. Living Youth is a mini podcast. It's 5 days a week, 3 or 4 minutes long, and it is designed for people, youth, between the ages of 12 and 40. Actually, it's for everybody. And what it does is a little story. It's called Pelgy's Pebbles. Pelgy is the family, Pebbles is the truth of the stories, and each story has a pebble in it. It might be about manners, it might be about eye-to-eye contact, it might be about financial planning. It covers the waterfront every day, Living Youth, and it's available on all the usual channels. Listen to it and share it, because the youth needs to hear from the people who have been around the block a bit. This one we're talking about, this Respectonomics issue, is about rejection. And rejection is something that each and every human being absolutely hates. Because when you're rejected, it's like taking a slap at your ego, a slap at your sense of self-worth, a slap at everything you stood for, and that feeling of, I'm just going to curl up and disappear. Rejection has 3 components to it, really. We have frequency, we have intensity, and we have duration. Frequency. Now, frequency is supposing you were a toothbrush salesman or saleslady, and you went to the bus stop and thought, I will sell toothbrushes to the people waiting for their bus. When you had been rejected 45 times in 3 minutes, and you found that happened every day, it wouldn't take you long to move your sales platform somewhere else. So frequency is something we respond to. It doesn't have a very high impact on our being or our sense of worth or whatever. It's almost mechanical. Oh, that didn't work. Intensity of rejection is a cruel one. This is the one when you come home and you find out that someone has left the house, somebody has changed the locks, somebody has taken your car, whatever it is, that is when we experience intense rejection. Classic example is the employee who goes to work on the Monday morning to find out the keys or the locks have been changed. That's intense. And then there's duration. Duration is an issue where we are quietly rejected and there's a build-up factor. And that is it builds and it builds and it builds. The classic example, the allegory is the butler who walks into Lady Snook's boudoir and says, I am resigning effective immediately. Lady Snook says, what are you talking about? You've been with us for 45 years. And he replies, yes. And in those 45 years, you haven't said good morning to me once. That's when we get this duration, this build up, this accumulation. And that is another form of rejection. Rejection creates fear. And when we are frightened, we will do things that are effectively irrational. I was once told it's not a question of being irrational. They are called emotionally logical. Call them what you will. We end up doing things that are not either productive, quantitatively helpful. We do things out of a place of fear. Fear is very corrosive. Now, we're not talking about a fear that is one of those ones that you have that you can't really explain. We're not talking about, let's say, fear of snakes. If you're frightened of snakes, probably the answer is intense therapy. Who knows why you hate snakes or spiders or closed spaces, whatever it would be. But we do need to recognize these fears that we're talking about that account a result from rejection. This is a fear that has actually been learned. So, definitively speaking, we can unlearn it. Let's take a look at what we do with fear. When we experience fear of rejection, we engage in avoidance, we get engaged in diversions. I don't want to be rejected. I know what it feels like. We certainly do. We know what it feels like. So we're going to avoid a situation where I might, in fact, get rejected. So that would be a little like saying, I know that that customer wants to buy something, but he might reject me, so I'm not going to ask him to buy it. It's called self-sabotaging. And our fears also become accretive. They grow on themselves, they're cumulative. Now, I've only just realized that all I've done so far is to say, gosh, we all experience fear, and it's not much fun. But surely to goodness, the definition of examining any kind of problem is to come out with some solutions. I was told recently that if you want to have a good meeting, the good meeting that relies much less on the content, much less on the collegiality of the meeting. It has much more to do with an agreement on the next steps. So let's talk about the next steps, because when you experience rejection, you get, I get, we get, our bodies get into almost a state of paralysis. I can't do it. So stop in our tracks and let's engage in relaxation. Now, relaxation, a lot of people think, oh, I'll just go and sit in front of the TV. No, that's not relaxing. Relaxation is an activity. It is something you have to do. It is something that you have to be responsible for. It is something when you actually turn to your compatriots and your spouse and your colleagues and whatever and say, I am now taking out time to relax. And when we take out time to relax, we relax our bodies, quite literally. Start relaxing your body. Start with your toes, move up to your knees, move up your femur, move up to your ribs, move up to your neck. How many people seriously relax their faces? How many people actually relax their lips? I don't. How many people relax their ears? How many people relax their eyes and their temples and their teeth and the upper part of their mouth? But relaxation, when you focus on relaxing, what happens is you bring down the entire sense of aggression in your body. And it's not an aggression that's outward necessarily, it's the inward aggression I'm talking about. If you've got inward aggression that says, I can't possibly do something, I am stuck, then the best thing to do is to start relaxing. And when we start relaxing, we can then take much greater measure of our ego and our sense of self-worth. It's very hard, isn't it, to have a sense of self-worth if all you're doing is finding yourself in a place of being catatonic where you feel completely deprived and overwhelmed. So when we get into a state of relaxation, then we're in a better place to study our sense of self-worth. And this may surprise you. Most of us were brought up, or think morally anyway, we shouldn't think too highly of ourselves. And of course, we can all understand when that would be applicable. But you know the other part? Gilbert and Sullivan, in one of their most famous oratorios, talks about puffing out your chest. And you and I have a right to puff out our chests. We're human beings with incredible dimensions, incredible skills, talents, insights, intellectual capabilities. We have all of these things. We have a right, no, we have an obligation to puff out our chests and say, I am who I am. So suddenly we've gone from a place of feeling depressed and repressed. We're coming into a place now where we are relaxed and we have this sense of our self-worth. I am a worthy human being. I know I'm worthy as a human being because the human being is worthy. The human being is of great worth. We know that. We know how much we discuss and treasure the idea of protecting a human being and the protection of life. We think in terms of all the money you see being spent on protecting the body, protecting the mind, the organizations that are in there to help you with spiritual growth. All of these things add up to one point. You and I are worth it. So, relaxation and understanding our true value. Now, the next thing we do is understanding our true value is to extend that into other people's lives. And if I want to extend that into another people's life, one of the easiest ways to do it is to build them up. And how do I build them up? By dignifying them, by saying things like, My, you've got a beautiful outfit today. My, you sound very, very well. My, it's so nice to be seeing you today. But give people that sense of encouragement because from your place of relaxation and your place of self worth, you can be the opposite to the ingester. You can give other people the opportunity to ingest this sense of self worth and value. And here's the most remarkable thing: the more value we put on another individual, the more value we put on ourselves. The more value we put on ourselves, the less concerned I am with, well, if you don't like me, that's your problem. I've got other people that do like me, and I'm going to go and work with them. Suddenly, the whole issue of rejection fades away. It almost becomes an excuse, in fact, to be able to use it as a trigger or as a catalyst to saying, well, one person doesn't like me, one person's rejected me, but do you know there's 8 billion people out there that do like me and they do want me and they want to play with me, they want to recognize me, they want to have an engagement with me, whatever it might be. We do not need to be suckered into rejection as a way of avoidance and as a way of driving ourselves into the ground. So we need to be able to relax. We need to build ourselves up. We need to build up other people. That's an easy thing to do every day. Just look at one individual and say something complimentary, something that is accretive to that individual. And lastly, give yourself a reward. You know something? We're so skimpy with rewarding ourselves. I am not worthy. Yes, you are. We just agreed on that. We are worthy. And if you've done something, go and get a cup of coffee. Match the activity and the reward. You've gone and written a letter. You get a reward, a cup of coffee. You went and spoke to somebody that you didn't really want to speak to. You get a reward and you go out for lunch with some friends. You get a reward of going to the movies. You get a reward of watching Netflix. But start looking at your rewards as specifically correlated with an activity. Because when an activity is rewarded, and when it's rewarded instantly, it is very likely to be repeated. So let's get into the game of repeating that we are not going to be rejected. Let us get into the business of recognizing that we're going to go out into the world and tell people that they are worth it, we are worth it, and that together we will become altogether more worthwhile. This is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I rest my case.